Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. The Champions League final is ahead of us between Paris Saint Germain and Inter Milan. And in today's video, I wanted to find out what's your guys' favorite Paris Saint Germain X Champions League games. And then we'll take a look at my top 5 favorite Paris Saint Germain Champions League games. So on Twitter, I asked you guys, what's your favorite PSG X Champions League game ever? We'll go through them quickly. Obviously, a lot of trolls here. This is obviously not one of our favorite games, obviously a Madrid favorite game. That game obviously hurt a lot. It's how quickly everything changed. It's how quickly everything happened. Those 3 goals were scored in like 15 minutes time, I think. We went from being 2-0 up, not conceding a goal for over 130 minutes or something like that. And then, bomb, the tie went away. Really heartbreaking game. Barca 6-1. Obviously 6-1. Another game that hurts a lot. Hurts a lot. We had a 4-0 lead. Then when Cavani got that goal and it was like, 7 minutes left for Barca to score 3 goals, we thought it was impossible. Yes, there were at least 2 goals for Barca that probably should not have been goals, and we should have gotten at least 2 pens or something, but the mentality was not the right in that game. A lot of the PSG players' mentality in that game was, we won 4-0, we're not going to lose from this lead that we have, which we obviously lost. 4-1 Barca, very recent from last season. This is a game that we will be discussing later in the top 5. Beautiful performance from Paris Saint Germain, needing to do exactly what they had to do after, an underwhelming performance at the Parc. When we lost to Barca, that was one of the most shocking results Paris Saint Germain have ever faced in the UCL. But happy we got our joy back. The Montada, obviously. The 4-1, 6-1, 6-1. When you made Dogma shed tears. Man United, once again, that's a very heartbreaking game. That's probably the most disgusting defeat we've had in the UCL. Because at least against the Madrid and Barca, you're facing Benzema, you're facing Messi, Neymar, Modric, all these top players. When we faced United, we faced a garbage United. They had 4 shots the entire game. All of those 4 shots came from our individual mistakes in Dilo Kerrer, in Presnel Kimpembe, and obviously Gianluigi Buffon. So we basically just gave United that tie, and offensively, Kylian Mbappe was absolutely woeful in that game. 2020 or Barca 2024, the Atalanta game is also a game we're going to be discussing. Paris Saint Germain Liverpool is also a game we're going to be discussing, and what a beautiful victory this was from Paris Saint Germain. PSG Barca 3-2 Verratti masterclass. That was obviously in the group stage. Beautiful performance from Paris Saint Germain in that game. Lisbon final. Well, that's obviously not one of our favorite games. It was a really tight game. It was a Champions League final. It was the definition of a Champions League final. Bayern at the moment, we just couldn't. We had more moments, we had more chances, we just couldn't put the ball into the net. Donnarumma x Benzema, 2-1 Atalanta. Obviously, that's a favorite in many people's eyes. United game, that was horrendous, man. City or Arsenal 2025. Arsenal won, could be up there. City won as well. City, that was, being 2-0, we performed really well in the first half, couldn't get a goal, 2-0 down from absolutely nowhere, and somehow we managed to come back into the game 4-2. Beautiful. Arsenal, just professionally slapped them around on 2 legs. It should be up there because it's a UCL semi, but I don't know. I'm just enjoying watching PSG ball. Last year versus Barca, obviously. Dortmund, PSG. This was really heartbreaking. This defeat was extremely heartbreaking versus Dortmund. Last year, just like this year, we thought it was our year. Domestic trouble, very dominant. Got Kylian Mbappe as well, but shat his pants when he mattered the most, obviously. Liverpool 2025, that's definitely a top one. United 6-1, Coman 59. Let's see if there's any other game here. Remontada. Yeah, basically all the Barca fans still living in 2017. If I was a Barca fan, I would not be trolling PSG fans about a result that happened 2017. And especially since this game, Paris Saint Germain have been owning Barca. We own Barca in 2021. We own Barca last season. We've been owning them in the transfer market with Neymar, Dembele, Messi, Xavi Simons, Arnaud Tenas, rejecting Marco Verratti. So, we've legit, the definition of an ownership, we have been owning FC Barcelona ever since 2017. So it's very hilarious seeing all the Madrid fans. Madrid have won 2 UCLs since that game. We haven't faced Madrid, so them trolling and bringing up that Benzema game is at least understandable. But that just tells you how big of trolls Barca fans, like they're completely shameless when it comes to trolling. But now, let's come to my top 5 games from Paris Saint Germain in the UEFA Champions League. We have 2 nominations, like aforementioned, that couldn't make it into the top 5. The first one is my first big Champions League game that I watched as a Paris Saint Germain supporter. This was my first season as a Paris Saint Germain supporter. I obviously went through the group with Porto, I believe, and some other teams. I think we beat Valencia in the round of 16. I remember, I think Ibra got a red card in that game. It was a chaotic game. Then we faced Barca at the back, and it was a great game. Barca takes the lead. Then we score from an Ibra goal, heavy offside. Heavy offside. The referee in that game was even Swedish, so maybe that's why he let Ibra score that goal. And obviously, there was no VAR back then. Then, towards the end, Barca get a penalty. Xavi slots it in, and it's looking like Paris Saint Germain are going to lose 2-1. A cross, I believe, from the right-hand side gets put in, maybe by Van der Veen, maybe by Jalé. Ibra hits it. Matuidi hits it. Valdez, the ball is too strong. And the game ended 2-2. And this for me was a magical game to watch against a team like FC Barcelona at that time, who were still, towards the end of their peak in our first season in the Champions League since 2005, 2006 or something. It was a really great performance that put a lot of confidence for the Paris Saint Germain project under QSI, and even for the second leg going. We obviously lost the tie, on away goals, the second game at the Camp Nou ending 1-1. So it wasn't even that heartbreaking. Yes, we were this close. We lost on away goals, but it was a great start for me as a Paris Saint Germain supporter. The second nomination that could make it into the top 5 is the 4-1 versus Barca last season. And why I don't think it's as big as it should be, because I felt a lot of it was just Barca was just garbage. It's maybe why I don't rate the Arsenal game from the semi this season. Like, that Barca team, when we faced them, I knew we were going to beat them. I knew we was going to beat them because, like, that Barca team just wasn't that good. And, we put ourselves, we had to make it 4-1. Why? Because we lost the first game 3-2 when Barca were just sitting back. Like, we cost ourselves in that first game and had to, crawl back up in the second leg game. Araujo's red card helped us. Xavi's red card helped us. Barca just having zero mentality at the biggest stage in their home stadium helped us as well. But yeah, it doesn't crack into the top 5 for me. Both of these games that didn't make it, Barcelona. Obviously, we have faced Barcelona so many times in the Champions League. Obviously, a lot of the memorable ones will be from the Barca games. But 4-1, it was more Barca just shooting themselves in the foot. Paris Saint Germain making the job way harder. Like, the 2-legged tie should have probably ended in the first leg. That's how bad that Xavi Barca side was. Moving on into the top 5, the fifth game that comes up is another Paris Saint Germain FC Barcelona game. 4-1 versus FC Barcelona at the Camp Nou without any fans during COVID. And why this game is my 5th spot? First of all, this was a very up and down, crazy season. Thomas Tuchel got sacked. Pochettino came in mid-season. And strictly for this game, Neymar Jr. and Angel Di Maria were out for both legs, actually. So we were coming in with good confidence. We were picking up some form under Mauricio Pochettino. But Kylian Mbappe, in 2021, I didn't have this YouTube channel, but I was okay selling Kylian Mbappe. Why? Because he hadn't delivered. This guy we bought for like 180 million from Monaco. Made him a starter, put Di Maria on the bench for this guy, gave him a high wage and everything. And he couldn't pull up. He couldn't pull up in 17-18 versus Madrid. He couldn't pull up 18-19 versus United. 19-20, he was injured, but he still wasn't that player. So I wanted to sell Mbappe because I felt we did way much. We paid too much. We did too much for Mbappe, and he wasn't delivering. But this was the game he delivered in. And I even remember the Zionistic, disgusting Barca propaganda tried to make it that Barca were favorites because they had a 15-game unbeaten streak with Koeman with a 5 at the back in the disgusting La Liga ass, beating Osasuna and Elche and Cadiz. They were hyping up Barca before this game. We went there. They got, it's a pen. The rules say it's a pen, that De Jong pen, but it's just a very disgusting pen to concede because we were dominating until that point. Messi scores it, and I don't know exactly how I felt. Then Mbappe immediately, beautiful Verratti pass, Kurzawa cross. Kurzawa was like prime Roberto Carlos in this game. And then Mbappe gets the second. then Moise Kean gets one from set piece and Mbappe finishes the game after at the end. And this was probably the best, my favorite big score margin against a big side. Yes, Barca at this point were completely garbage, but it's still Barca at the end of the day. We've had some other, 3-0 versus Madrid, 3-0 versus Bayern, and so on. But those were more in the group stages. And obviously the 4-0 versus Barca right ahead of the remontada. So this one, is my fifth favorite Paris Saint Germain Champions League game. It was an Mbappe masterclass. It was a Pochettino masterclass. It was a Marco Verratti masterclass. Paredes was cooking. Marquinhos, Kimpembe, Keylor. Everyone was absolutely cooking in that game. It was a beautiful performance from Paris Saint Germain. 4-1. Moving on to the fourth favorite game. Same season, same shirt. 3-2 versus FC Bayern. And yes, we were facing up against the reigning champions. Revenge from that Champions League final. Away at the Allianz Arena, snowy, no fans, and Paris Saint-Germain did it. Paris Saint-Germain did it. I think Bayern had like 4.5 XG, we had like 2.3. But it was the individual quality that won this game. It was Neymar, it was Mbappe, it was Keylor Navas, it was Angel Di Maria. And it was the defensive solidity of Marquinhos for 35 minutes, of Danilo Pereira. Colin Dagba played this game. Abdou Diallo and Michel Bakker played this game. We had some injuries. I think Marco Verratti missed this game as well. We had missing players and everything. But the players turned up. And that was, a lot of the Mbappe era. It was Neymar and Mbappe carrying us through games offensively. Mbappe obviously scored a brace in this game. Neymar had a beautiful assist to Marquinhos and a beautiful assist to Mbappe, and I believe Di Maria assisted the last goal. And it was a really tough victory. It showed the mentality of this team. Paris Saint-Germain in this game showed that, yes, despite Bayern beating us in that final, we are a stronger team. We are a better team. And going away to the Allianz Arena and getting a performance like this with all the pressure that Bayern put, I mean, we were 2-0 up, Bayern came back 2-2, and then Mbappe got the 3-2 goal. So this was a warrior performance from Paris Saint-Germain, and we obviously managed to go through this double-legged tie as well as the previous Barca one. And this was a really special Champions League year. We've just reached the final. We were already thinking about reaching the final again. We obviously got knocked out in the semi versus City, but no, that Bayern game, beautiful, and the Barca game, because I don't know exactly my expectations going into the game. I know that Bayern were missing Lewandowski in that game, but it was still a very tough game, and my fourth favorite Paris Saint-Germain Champions League game, both from the 2021 season. Moving on to the season prior in 1920, when we reached the Champions League final, playing Atalanta in the quarterfinals. And for this game, once again, when it comes to missing players, Marco Verratti missed this game, Angel Di Maria missed this game, and Kylian Mbappe missed majority of the game, coming off as a late sub, but that was coming very quickly back from an injury received in the, I believe, Coupe de France final versus Saint-Etienne. Paris Saint-Germain at this point, we're in for a treble. We're trying to reach our first Champions League final, our first Champions League semi-final since 1995. And we played good in this game. Atalanta obviously got a goal early on from Pasalic. Neymar missed some chances. Icardi missed some chances. But the entire game was just Paris Saint-Germain pushing. Atalanta just defending, especially that last like 30 minutes. Atalanta were 1-0 up. They were like, you know what, we're going to accept just defending this 1-0 lead. This was obviously a historical season for Atalanta, probably the furthest they've gone in the UEFA Champions League. But at the end, it came. After a heroic performance from Neymar Jr., still the record for most dribbles completed in one single Champions League game, made the pass to Marquinhos, and Marquinhos gets the goal. A few minutes later, Neymar to Mbappe, Mbappe to Chopo, and Paris Saint-Germain are into the Champions League semi-final. I mean, I'm going to be honest, when it was a few minutes before Marquinhos scored, I was next to my Barca friend, and I was like, I don't know if he will do it. I don't know if I have faith. And he was like, nah, I think PSG will do it. And it was mostly because of the inexperience, even in me as a supporter. I haven't been in the stages. I haven't seen Paris Saint-Germain, needing that goal and getting that goal. I hadn't seen that from this PSG team. And that's why when Marquinhos got that goal, when Chopo got it, when we advanced into the semifinal, it definitely felt like a new chapter. A page had been turned at Paris Saint-Germain, and a mentality switch had happened. We obviously saw that in the Champions League season coming up after that. Paris Saint-Germain showed great mentality, both this season and the season after. Then obviously Messi came, the debacle, too much drama, and now we're back to that strong mentality once again. And this was a really great game to watch. I watched it with my friends. obviously reached the Champions League final for the first time in that year, and it was a really special game and a special moment from Paris Saint Germain. Second game up, we finally have a game from this season. Yes, second. And I already said it when this game finished. I said this is already my second, could potentially even compete for the number one position because that's how great this game was. That's how special Paris Saint Germain's 1-0 victory versus Liverpool was. I remember the first leg because this is one of the games where one of the legs is really crucial for the storyline because this was the second leg. This was a second leg. The first leg, Paris Saint-Germain absolutely destroyed Liverpool like I haven't seen a big team destroy another big team before. Liverpool were coming in as heavy, strong favorites, as the best team in the world, the best team in the Premier League, the best team in the Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain made them look like a championship club. But heroic performance from Alisson and the Paris Saint-Germain players just not being able to put the ball into the net made Liverpool get into the game, get the goal at the end. And after that, the narrative was PSG played so great but still couldn't get a goal. It's over. They're going to go to Anfield. Liverpool have never got knocked out at Anfield. The amount of narratives, the amount of disgustingness I heard from the Liverpool fan base, from the non-PSG hating agenda, Zionistic, disgusting fan base, what they were saying about Paris Saint-Germain after that game, after that performance we put, they were like, no. They were like, no, but there was still people. Shout out to Steve Nicol and Frank Leboeuf and all of those at ESPN because they actually talked football. They knew how Paris Saint-Germain performed. If they can perform to 70% of that and get a goal, it will be, Paris Saint-Germain have a very strong chance to go through. And that's exactly what we did. Paris Saint-Germain went to Anfield. 10, 15 minutes in, Ousmane Dembele gets the goal. A huge, crucial goal. Drops between the midfield, high-pressing Liverpool, Nuno between the lines, Dembouz to Barcola, Barcola to Dembouz. We know the story. And then for the first half, we kept creating some chances here and there. Trying to nullify Liverpool as much. And Liverpool, I gotta give it to them. They were tough. I've seen some people trying to underrate Liverpool in that game. I think Liverpool were good. That's probably the toughest. Yeah, sure, maybe you have that Arsenal 50 minutes at the Parc as well in the Champions League semi-final. But if we're talking one game that was the toughest for PSG this season, it was most definitely the game at Anfield. This was a really tough game for Paris Saint-Germain, and we had to deliver a 10 out of 10 performance to go through into that Champions League quarter final versus Aston Villa. But yeah, first half ended off, and second half, I didn't enjoy it at all. I barely remember anything we did in that second half. It was mostly Liverpool hitting the post from Quensa. I think Szoboszlai scored the disallowed goal as well, where Luis Diaz was offside. They had a lot of dangerous set pieces, but that's exactly where the man you can see in the picture came in, Gianluigi Donnarumma. This was a masterclass. We can look back at this game in the future as the turning game for Gianluigi Donnarumma, when he went from a great goalkeeper to definitely an elite goalkeeper and cementing himself as the best goalkeeper in the world. And with his age and with the team that PSG have, I mean, Donnarumma could, end his career as one of the best goalkeepers of all time. And this game will be remembered as that game where Donna took over. But we managed to survive in that second half. And that's the most important thing. Sometimes you're not great. Sometimes you're not going to have the ball. Sometimes the opposition are going to have chances. And we survived. And I always believed we could win the Champions League. I always believed we would win the Champions League. But after that performance, after that mentality Paris Saint-Germain showed, away at Anfield, being 1-0 down, trying to keep a 1-0 lead, AC Milan Serie A-esque, it told me that this team is ready for it. There were some PSG fans that were, not rating their own team, saying we're too young. Like Julien Laurent, for example, this PSG team is too young. Like that glasses dude, I remember his name, Rabona TV. I think this PSG team is a bit too young. Just some delusional agendas as usual. And then came extra time. Not that much happened, but Paris Saint-Germain looked like the better side, which gave us even extra confidence for the penalty shootout. And then comes the penalty shootout. Paris Saint-Germain players, Ousmane Dembele, Gonçalo Ramos, Desire Doué, and Vitinha, absolutely perfect from the penalty spot. And Gianluigi Donnarumma, the best penalty shot stopper in the world, saving Curtis Jones and Nunes penalties. And Paris Saint-Germain advanced into the quarterfinals, advanced into the semi, and advanced into the Champions League final. And I think this game will maybe looked at even better when we eventually win the Champions League versus Inter, inshallah. But yeah, this game is already my second favorite PSG game of all time. And number one, it can only be one game. My favorite Paris Saint-Germain game ever since it was played. I was younger, more emotional, So maybe that's why it's taking the number one spot. It could be a bit of nostalgia as well. But this game is my masterpiece. This is my favorite Paris Saint-Germain game ever. The first game ended 1-1 at the Parc des Princes. Paris Saint-Germain going away to Chelsea, needing to get a 2-2 to win on away goals or try to even win the game. So Chelsea from the get-go were somewhat in a favorable position with away goals still existing back then. And it was a really tough game. Then Zlatan Ibrahimovic out of nowhere got a red card. I think the worst you can give for that is a yellow card. Everyone talked about the referee's bad decision, but it was set. Paris Saint-Germain was set to play with 10 men versus Chelsea FC at the Stamford Bridge, 0-0, needing a goal. At that point, we needed a goal. And I still remember the Cavani miss when he went past Courtois and hits the left post. That's why I never could have that strong connection with Cavani, because he couldn't do it in the biggest moments when we needed it. But the Paris Saint-Germain team kept, performing, kept doing stuff, kept doing great stuff. And then Chelsea, Fugazi, ball into the box, nobody clears it, header, Cahill, bomb. It was like an 86th, 84th minute. We were already thinking, is it over? Is it already over for Paris Saint-Germain in Champions League in that season, in 14-15? But no, it was not over. David Luiz, ex-Chelsea player, beautiful corner, I believe, from Thiago Motta for both goals, if I'm correct. Or maybe one was Maxwell and the other one was Thiago Motta. But David Luiz scores the header, celebrates like a madman, runs into the corner, and it's 1-1. And the game is set to go into extra time. It goes into extra time. I don't remember that much that happened. But then Thiago Silva, unfortunately, gives away a stupid penalty, hits his hand. Hazard calmly scores the pen, and we're 2-1 down to Chelsea. Chelsea just defending for their lives in the last 10 minutes of that game. And I remember that David Luiz free kick. Courtois had to make a tough save. Then a corner comes in. Oh, it was Lavezzi, I think, for the goal. Maybe Thiago Motta puts it in. Thiago Silva hits it. Courtois made an astonishing save. And then it's Lavezzi's turn, puts it in. And this time, actually, or maybe it was Thiago Motta, maybe it was Lavezzi for David Luiz. Thiago Motta puts it in, and this time, once again, Thiago Silva unmarked in the box and gets the goal, takes it to 2-2. The battle at the bridge, and the game finishes off with Paris Saint-Germain advancing into the Champions League quarterfinals. We obviously faced Barca that season, lost in both legs in that 14-15 season, but that Chelsea game is still my favorite one. Like, red card, goal against us, and we never stop believing. David Luiz and Thiago Silva saved us in that game. Oh yeah, that is definitely my favorite Paris Saint-Germain Champions League game. So strictly to go over them, number 5 is 4-1 versus Barca. Number 4 is 3-2 versus Bayern, 2-1 versus Atalanta, 1-0 versus Liverpool, and 2-2 versus Chelsea. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your top 5 best and favorite Paris Saint-Germain Champions League games ever? That's been it from boy PSGINT. And as usual, allez Paris.